Hey everyone, it's Phil Frost again. I want to welcome you to today's presentation called Email Marketing 101, How to Grow Your List, Keep Your List Engaged, and Actually Generate Sales. All right, let's dive in. So some housekeeping. If you are new to GoToWebinar, you should see a dashboard in the upper right corner, and you can post questions in that window into the questions box. I will see those as they pop up, and I will stop as needed and repeat anything that was not clear, and then we will have live Q&A at the end, and I'll address anything I didn't get to. And as always, I recommend you turn off distractions. I just put my phone on Do Not Disturb, turned off my mobile, shut down from email, turned off social media, whatever you need to do to stay focused. This will just be about 60 minutes, and you can get back to your day. All right, here's what we're going to cover. I'll give a quick overview of the 4 types of email marketing. There's a lot of confusion about what exactly is email marketing, and that should clear that up for you. Why email marketing works. We'll walk through the 5 steps to make email marketing work for your business, and we'll talk about how to get started today. And I already mentioned we'll have live Q&A at the end. If this is your first webinar, again, my name is Phil Frost, and I'm the founder of Main Street ROI, and our business provides digital marketing services as well as training, like this training today. To date, we've helped over 2,000 businesses with their digital marketing, and my thought leadership has been in Forbes, Inc., Amex, as well as Mashable. And this is my favorite slide here. I'm also the proud father of those 2 cute kids there. That's Violet on the left. She's just over 3. That's Emmett on the right. He's the Godzilla baby. He's just over 1. And that's my beautiful wife, Erin. And we are actually celebrating Emmett's first birthday in that picture at a beer garden in the Upper West Side of New York City. All right, the 4 types of email marketing. As I mentioned, there's a lot of confusion with email marketing because there's a lot of different ways to go about it. So really, you can break it down into these 4 types of email marketing. There's what we call an in-house email newsletter. That's where you have your own list of contacts, and you are broadcasting to them on a frequent, consistent basis. Let's say it's monthly, twice a month, every week, whatever that is. You're sending out that consistent newsletter to your list. You might also layer on what are called email promotions, and that's where you're not just providing information, you're actually trying to line up a phone call, get someone to schedule a phone call, come into your store, or actually go to your online store and complete a purchase. Then you might have heard of autoresponders. These are also called drip campaigns or follow-up sequences. Lots of different names. They all mean the same thing. As that name alludes to, autoresponders, it's automatically sending emails. Excuse me. So rather than manually sending an email promotion or manually sending your newsletter, an autoresponder happens automatically in the background. You set it up one time, and then based on whatever the trigger is, emails will start going out to your list automatically. Classic example would be someone comes to your site, requests a free report or a free white paper, and that triggers an autoresponder to then provide additional information via email and possibly send some automatic email promotions. And the 4th area of email marketing is cold email outreach. And this is where you will you'll either go out and get your own contacts doing some research, or you can go out and buy or rent email lists, and you will go out and email those folks with a message to try to drive leads and sales. So we call that cold because those folks likely don't know who you are, have not yet visited your website and requested any information. So they're cold in terms of the sales cycle. and you're sending that message out to them. Everything above that, the first three, that's more warm email marketing, where we're talking about newsletters to your own list, email promotions to your own list, and autoresponders to people who have requested information on your site. And today we're really going to hone in on these first two, which is the newsletter and email promotions. All right, so why does email marketing work? I just want to share some pretty important stats here. This one's from Marketing Donut. 63% of people requesting information on your company today will not purchase for at least 3 months, and 20% will take more than 12 months to buy. So that's obviously highlighting the fact that a lot of folks come to your website and then leave and then don't buy for 3 to 12 months, even if they completed a form or requested additional information. And this one's from Gleanster Research. 50% of leads are qualified but not yet ready to buy. Demand Gen report listed this one. Nurtured leads produce, on average, a 20% increase in sales opportunities versus non-nurtured leads, and that's what email marketing does for you. It actually nurtures those leads. And nurtured leads make 47% larger purchases. So not only are they purchasing more often, or you're getting higher conversion rate, but they're actually making larger purchases. And then finally, from Forrester Research, companies that nurture leads make 50% more sales at a cost 33% less than non-nurtured leads. So really, hopefully that highlights the importance of following up and what we're calling nurturing your leads by educating them, sending them relevant information, and that you do that most effectively with email marketing. So quick recap, email is one of the best ways to follow up, nurture, and educate your prospects until they're ready to buy. And we learned earlier it can take anywhere from 3 months to 12 months after they actually request information on your company before they are ready to buy. But if you stay top of mind with email, then they are more likely to come back to your business versus redoing all of that research and going with a competitor. And this one's critical, and this one not a lot of people really think about. Email marketing is one of the only channels that you actually own and fully control. So think about that with SEO, advertising. You're not in full control. Obviously, with SEO, Google is in complete control. They own and operate the search engine and determine who gets ranked. And with advertising, competitors can come in and definitely affect your market share. But with email marketing, it's more of a one-to-one conversation with the people on your list. You control what that message is, and you control the frequency in which you follow up with those folks on your list. All right, so let's go through the 5 steps to actually do this right. Step 1, you will need to set up what we call an ESP, or an email service provider. Excuse me. And I'll go through the recommended ESPs based on my experience, and these are really the top players. I'll give you some pros and cons. So the first one is the tool that we use. It's Infusionsoft, and this is a great tool if you also need what's called a CRM, or a customer relationship management tool. If you're already using Salesforce, then you wouldn't need another CRM. Infusionsoft is basically a competitor of theirs. Infusionsoft is also an online shopping cart, and it also has partner tracking, or what's called affiliate tracking, to track commissions for partners. So it's kind of like a all-in-one solution. So with that in mind, it's obviously going to cost more because there are a lot of bells and whistles. So it is the most expensive option. But if you do need a CRM and a shopping cart, and you want to track partner referrals, then this is a great solution. And it also ties into email marketing, and all of those different tools are in one package, so they all communicate with each other. It makes it a lot easier to integrate all of your different marketing. So with that said, Infusionsoft's cons are really the cost. So then the next recommended tool would be AWeber. They're one of the leaders in the space, and this is just strictly email service provider. So they don't have, you're not going to use it as a CRM. It's not going to track your opportunities in your sales cycle. It doesn't come with any shopping carts, and it doesn't track your partner referrals. All it does is email marketing, but it does it really well, and it's definitely reasonably priced. All of these remaining tools are similarly priced, so not necessarily an issue of cost so much as ease of use, as well as tracking tools in the dashboard. So AWeber does have a lot of good tracking capabilities. Next, a lot of people have heard of MailChimp. A lot of folks that I talk to actually already use MailChimp, and that's because it's free for up to 2,000 contacts. And that draws a lot of users, and I definitely understand why. Excuse me. But with that in mind, if you absolutely have no budget, I would say definitely go with MailChimp. But keep in mind, once you do pick a solution, it becomes very hard to move off of that platform. And the big downside of MailChimp that I've found is that it forces you to use what's called double opt-in. And double opt-in means someone needs to go on your site, fill out a form, and then MailChimp will send them an email automatically with a link to confirm that they do, in fact, want more emails from you. And then those folks have to click on the link before you can start marketing to them. So that's double opt-in. It's basically two hoops they have to jump through. They have to complete a form, and then they have to click on a link that gets sent to them from MailChimp. Excuse me. So with that, that's really the big downfall of or downside of MailChimp. In my opinion, I would recommend going with AWeber so that you only need people to complete a form, and then you can still market to them rather than forcing them to click a link that a lot of folks just won't click on. They'll get distracted or get busy like everyone does. So it's that extra hoop that I wouldn't recommend having people jump through. You can definitely miss out on leads that way. And these last two, iContact, Constant Contact, easy to get them confused, and I'll actually just lump them together as the last two on the list here. Definitely, if you're already using them, perfectly fine. They do what you need them to do. In my experience, they are a bit clunky to use, not as user-friendly as AWeber and MailChimp. So that's why I put them last. But again, in terms of pricing, they're all competitive, and I think they all offer a 30-day free trial, so you can test them all out. And MailChimp, as I mentioned, is even free until you get more than 2,000 contacts. And I did just see a question here from Paige. Do you have to use double opt-in for Infusionsoft if they are not a client or a current contact? Excuse me, that's a great question. So the only one on this list that requires the double opt-in is MailChimp. Infusionsoft allows you to use single opt-in, which means someone completes a form on your site. That's considered an opt-in. They have requested information. We don't need them to also click on a link. And Paige had a second question. How do you get more email contacts in order to send out email newsletters, promotions, etc., in order to gain more clients? That's a great question. We're going to get to that next. That's a good segue. So step two. So now we've got the the ESP. And to actually get set up, I'm not going to waste everyone's time showing you that, just because it's literally just go to the website, you'll see a free trial link, click on that, fill out the form, you're on your way. But then you do need to grow your list, and that's what Paige was referencing. And here, I'm going to go through manual tactics here. These are the most straightforward. You want to compile all of your existing contacts, put them in a spreadsheet, like Excel or Google spreadsheets, and then you have to import that spreadsheet into the email service provider. They all allow some kind of upload capabilities or import capabilities, and you do want to use their template. They're all slightly different. Excuse me. So they'll have a column for the email, a column for the first name, last name, or any other information that you're going to import or that you have. And then you simply import that, and now you've got your list in your ESP, and then you can start emailing. Then you can also just manually add new contacts one by one. For example, if you go to a networking event and you make some good contacts, you collect some business cards, you can go into your program and just manually enter in that information, or have your assistant enter that information. All right, so that's manual. That's obviously time intensive, and the way to scale this is to automatically grow your list. The way you do that is you start leveraging the traffic to your website, and you integrate your ESP with all of your web forms. On your website, I'm sure you have a contact form. You might have a request quote form or schedule a demo form. Those forms right now might not send the contact information anywhere. You just might get an email alert with that information. So rather than that, you'll integrate those forms with your ESP so that the data gets sent straight into the ESP and right into the correct list for, let's say, your newsletter. So examples of forms, contact forms, your any free offers you have, like a free report. Your newsletter obviously needs to be integrated, newsletter sign-up form, and even order forms. I'm actually always surprised when I hear some e-commerce sites are not putting their customers into a customer list into their ESP, and then you can use that to then follow up with your customers. A lot of the previous stats were about leads and prospects and getting them to turn into customers. But what you can do with the customer list is nurture that customer list to get repeat purchases, get testimonials, and get referrals. So it's another great tactic. It's not just for getting that first sale. And lastly, highly recommend you look into what are called lightbox pop-ups. And I'm sure you've seen these on sites. Your first reaction might be to get a little bit annoyed with these, but they do work. And when they are relevant to the page, it's actually not annoying. And there's three tools that I would recommend. SumoMe has a ton of options for integrating nice pop-up offers on your site. Hello Bar is another tool that we use, and that's that little bar at the top. When you go to mainstreetroi.com, you'll see a green bar pop down. That's the Hello Bar pop-up. And then pop-up domination is a tool for WordPress users, and that's a plugin that allows you to add pop-ups on different pages of your site. And as I mentioned before, the key to this is matching the offer that's in your pop-up to the page that the visitor is on. For example, let's say you have a dental practice, dental website, and you have a service page about your dental implants. Excuse me. On that page, you can have a nice pop-up or hello bar that offers a promotion on your dental implant service. So in that case, that people visiting and reading about that particular service would be very excited to see that pop up, that promotion about your service. For e-commerce, I'm sure you see it all the time on websites. Offering coupons is another great way to get contact information. I mean, who doesn't love getting a coupon? It's pretty much a no-brainer to just put in your email address and get that 10, 20, 30% off. And with that, we call those little micro conversions. That is a step in the direction of a purchase. So getting people to make that small little commitment to just give you their contact information actually increases the likelihood that they'll go through with a purchase on your site. Okay, step 3, you do need to plan your email calendar, and this is where a lot of folks get tripped up. Excuse me. And before you get started, I want you to remember this analogy. This is one of the key takeaways from this presentation. It's the bank account analogy. And this is just a great way to think about email marketing. You want to think about it like your bank account. And when you go to your bank account, what do? You either make deposits or withdrawals. And a deposit, when it comes to email marketing, is providing value to the folks on your list. So that's providing some relevant information, trends about the industry, tips, advice. And then withdrawals is when you're actually promoting something and trying to get the folks on your list to take action to either turn into a lead or make a purchase. So those are the 2 types of emails that you'll be sending. You'll either be making a deposit into your bank or making a withdrawal. And as you can imagine, if you make more withdrawals than deposits, you'll eventually deplete your bank account to 0. And with email marketing, what happens is people tune you out. And I'm sure everyone has been on an email list where all the business does is send you promotions. And after a while, it's great maybe the first week or the first month, but after a while you just kind of tune it out. You're not getting any value from that email relationship there with that business. So eventually you'll unsubscribe, or maybe you'll just filter those emails so that they don't actually hit your inbox. And that brings us to what I call the one-to-one rule. And you want to, at the very least, make sure you're sending 1 deposit for every withdrawal. So every time you do a promotion, you want to have at least 1 deposit email where the whole purpose of that email is to provide value to the list. Now, it's even better if the ratio is higher, maybe 2 to 1 deposits to withdrawals. Sam had a question here before I move on. Any recommendation for Lightbox pop-up, SumoMe versus HelloBar, especially if we have an e-commerce component as well? Excuse me. SumoMe, I would take a look at both, Sam, but my recommendation, SumoMe, it's much more robust than HelloBar. HelloBar is pretty straightforward and has the bars, as their name suggests, and SumoMe has a little bit more options. So I would take a look at SumoMe. That would be my recommendation. All right, so here's an example calendar. This is actually from our email marketing calendar. These are real emails with real dates. On May 9th, if you were on our newsletter, you saw that we sent what we call a deposit, and the subject line was the path to Facebook ad success. So we're providing value, helping people with Facebook advertising. They're getting value from that email. And then on Wednesday, we sent what we call a withdrawal, and we promoted our Facebook ads training. So that was the Facebook ads that actually generate leads and sales. That email does not necessarily provide value. It's not really a deposit for our list. So if all we did was send all of our messages were that withdrawal type message, most people would tune us out over time. But the way we've structured our calendar, as you can see, is it's more of a 2-to-1 ratio. We do 2 deposits. We do Monday and Friday deposit. On Friday, we sent the Facebook Ads 101 email. And then on Wednesday, we tend to have what we call that withdrawal promotion type email. All right, step 4, you do obviously have to create your emails. In this case, you really just have 2 options. You can write the emails in-house. In my experience, this is what stops most businesses. They just don't have the time, or don't think they have the time, or just kind of get a bit overwhelmed with staring at a blank Word document. And unfortunately, this does stop a lot of businesses, but really shouldn't, because if that is what's stopping you, you can hire a ghostwriter. And the tool I would recommend is called writersaccess.com. We found this several years ago. They do have great writers there, and they have they have a star system. Excuse me. I think it's 1 star or 2 stars, all the way up to 6 stars. I think 6 stars is the absolute best. But we have tested some different star graded writers, and what we found is 5-star writers write really solid content. We have pretty high standards, and the cost, as you can see, it's price per word, and for a 500-word article that you would then turn into an email, that would be just $40. So really, if you're scheduling out a monthly newsletter, it would only cost you $40 a month to get someone to write that email for you. So we're not talking about a big budget here. And unfortunately, I'm hoping that eliminates all the excuses, because that is the biggest one that I hear. And I understand it. A lot of business owners especially want to be the person that writes it and want to have full control over the content. But unfortunately, they're busy and never get around to actually writing it. So that monthly newsletter turns into a quarterly newsletter, or twice-a-year newsletter, or a never-a-year newsletter in a lot of cases. So what I would recommend, if that is happening to you, then go and test writersaccess.com. Test a couple different writers until you settle in on one. You can find one and then keep reusing that same writer. So you could actually find someone who writes in the same voice and has the technical expertise that you need, and then keep using that same writer for all of your content. When you get that article back, excuse me, you obviously want to proofread it, and you'll have a chance then to make some edits and put it even more closely to your voice. Now here's the anatomy of an email newsletter. This is important. You don't want to just blast out anything without structure. We'll go through each component of a solid email newsletter. It really starts with the from line. You've noticed probably in our emails, they actually come from me, Phil Frost, and there is a reason for that, and that is because people tend to connect a little bit more closely with a person rather than having the emails come from Main Street ROI. It's very easy to ignore a company email, whereas if the email is coming from a real person in that company, there's that human element. It looks more real and forms that stronger bond with your audience. So if you can, I highly recommend using an actual person in the from line. Excuse me. And to prove that from line is actually the most important component, think about if you get an email and it has your mom's name in it, I guarantee you're going to open that email regardless of what the subject line is. And a lot of people will say the subject line is the most important thing, but it's actually the from line. And next is the subject line that is absolutely critical. You need to have compelling subject lines that are relevant to your target audience. Next, I'll show you this in a minute. I recommend you have an introduction section for your newsletter where you introduce what is in the issue. And in that section, you'll also incorporate some personality and try to build some rapport. Then you'll have the core, which is really the meat of the newsletter. In our case, we're talking about having an actual article. So that'll be the core of the newsletter. Now this will be a deposit, but you can sneak in an offer, and it's okay. It's not viewed as a withdrawal because the focus of the email is on the deposit. So the focus and the way it is viewed by your audience is as a helpful, informative email newsletter, but you can include that offer and actually drive some leads from your newsletter. So it's not an either or black and white situation. And I highly recommend you include some credibility indicators as well, and I'll show you some examples in a minute. Paige had a question about turnaround time for ghostwriters. Excuse me. That will definitely vary by the writer. In our experience, we've had writers get back to us in just a couple days with articles, which is obviously amazing. But I believe in Writers Access, they say it can be 5 days, I want to say. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that is the writer's deadline is 5 days. All right, here's an example email newsletter. I'll show you our newsletter. This one, I think, was in May or maybe last month. You can see here we've got the intro. We introduce what you'll actually learn in this issue. We're going to be talking about Google AdWords, and we also introduce what we call the check this out, which is the offer. And then right below that is what I was talking about earlier about having a section where you build a little bit of rapport, show some personality. And that's why we have this section here. And it's in italics. It's supposed to be a separate section, and it's really in my voice. So it's actually getting a glimpse into what's going on in my world. And what we have found, based on feedback, is a lot of folks will actually open the email just to hear that little section. So what's going on with Phil? What's he up to this weekend, or what did he do last weekend? I know it sounds ridiculous, or it might sound ridiculous, and I am not saying people actually care about me, but that we found has worked very well to keep people's attention. Maybe they're not interested in the actual core that we're sending, so maybe they don't care about Google AdWords, but they'll still open that up and still be engaged because they want to read that little personal message. And here's the core. So we mentioned that in the intro. You're going to learn 4 tricks to cut your Google AdWords spending without hurting sales. You obviously have to fulfill on that promise. So that is the meat of the article. And then here's a relevant offer and call to action. In this case, we have we're offering our Google AdWords checklist, which is a free offer on our site that they can request. And that then, I mentioned earlier, forms can then trigger what we call autoresponders. That form will actually trigger an autoresponder sequence that is separate from our newsletter. So hopefully you can see how all these pieces are starting to fit together. And then you do want to add credibility indicators, and we sprinkle these throughout the newsletter you might have noticed we'll list any press mentions and logos. We feature customers and clients, and that provides social proof. So if you can do that, that's a great way to highlight a customer or a client or a patient, and that makes them feel good because you're highlighting them. It also shows everyone else on your list that people are in fact getting good results or using your product. You can even highlight some people on your team, and that just shows you're a little bit more legitimate, that you do have a real business. And then you can publish customer reviews, and that's even more social proof by repurposing any reviews, for example, that you get on your Facebook page, on Yelp, on your Google My Business page, or that you have on your website. Just copy and paste those, put those right in the newsletter. That's great social proof. Here's an example of a very simple email promotion. So these don't have to be elaborate campaigns. This one's just 2 emails. We announced the promotion, and then we enforced the deadline. And at a minimum, that's really what you want to do. You want to announce it and then enforce a deadline. You'll find you'll get a stream of leads and sales on that initial promotion email, and then you might have some follow-up emails in between that won't do as well, but then once you enforce that deadline with that final email, you'll get a nice spike in sales or leads. And this is the Facebook ads promotion. I showed you we had sent this early in May. You can see the subject line. We actually put in brackets the training just to show people that this is a new training that we have. And I do want to show, I want to highlight one area that we could actually improve this email. And it's right in the beginning. You might notice that we're missing something that would improve. So if you have any ideas, type those into the Q&A box. I purposefully chose this example to highlight the fact that, and I don't see anyone getting the answer correct. Yes, there we go. Kirsten, personalization, and that is the correct answer. In this case, this segment of our list, we didn't have the first names, so we could not personalize this email, but that is what's missing in this email. Ideally, you do have the first names, and if you don't have them for everyone, what you need to do is segment your list into groups of one group that does not have names, and you would send them an email like this that does not have personalization. And then you could have another segment that has first names, and you can send them a personalized message. In this case, if this came to me, it would say, "Hi, Phil, you're invited to register for our new Facebook training." But since we did not have the first name for this target audience, that's why we don't have the personalization there. And here's the follow-up that we sent. The subject line, "Will you be joining us?" And it's basically the same email, just tweaked a little bit, different subject line and different intro. So there's still time to register for a live training ads, for live Facebook ads training. Excuse me. And this was sent the day before, so this was on May 18, and you can see the training is the following day, so it's pretty obvious you need to sign up before this actually starts on May 19th at noon. All right, so the final step here, step 5, you need to be able to track your email performance. If you just fire off your emails and you don't have tracking in place, it's pretty hard to see what's going on. You don't know if your frequency is right. You don't know if the messages are resonating with your audience. So you need to keep an eye on these key metrics. And the first one is your list size and growth. If You obviously want to keep an eye on this. If your list size is going down and you're just getting a lot of unsubscribes, highly likely that the messages that you're sending are not resonating, and you need to rethink what kind of messages you're sending, what kind of content that you're sending. Your open rates, those you want to track. Don't think of it as just a number that you want to be at, like 10% or 20%. Think of it more as trends. So if you're at 20%, and then all of a sudden in June you notice that your open rate plummets to 10%, then you have a problem. But just having a 10% open rate by itself doesn't really indicate a problem. It's more important to look at those trends and then see what changed before or after the open rate either went up or down. Click-through rates, that's how many people are clicking on the link in your email, and that'll indicate whether or not people actually care about the offers that you're sending them. And this is most important for those promotion type emails. You want to track the click-through rates and then find the offers that get the highest click-through rate and obviously reuse those throughout the year. You do want to opt-out rate and any spam complaints. If you get a lot of spam complaints, what happens is the email service provider will they'll alert you to that, and you can actually get your account suspended if you get really high spam complaints. That should not happen as long as you are having people opt in to your newsletter by filling out a form on your site. You'll get spam complaints if you take like 1,000 or more contacts that you have and just import them into your ESP and then start emailing them, daily or weekly with messages that they don't care about. You will likely get your account shut down. So that is highly not. I do not recommend that tactic at all. Rather than that, obviously it's all about matching the message and the content that you're sending to that audience. And similarly, when you are warming up a cold list, so if you do have thousands of contacts and you import them to your ESP, you do want to start slowly and don't just start right out the gates, guns blazing with a ton of emails. Start slowly, warm that list up, and get them re-engaged before you start increasing the frequency of your emails. And finally, you want to track conversions. And these first four, pretty straightforward to track. You're going to track those in your ESP. They'll show you how big your list is over time. It'll show you the open rates for each email you send and the click-through rate for each email, as well as how many people opted out or gave you a spam complaint. So that leads us to conversions, which those tools do not track. And I recommend for website conversions, you want to use what's called the URL builder with Google Analytics. So I'll assume you have Google Analytics installed properly on your site. If you don't, then that would be step one. Once you have Google Analytics, you want to use URL Builder. You can find that by just Googling URL Builder, and it will be the first result there. I'll show you a screenshot in a second. And what it will do, if you can see this URL here, mainstreetroi.com / and then question mark, UTM source equals newsletter, UTM medium equals email, UTM campaign equals 5/27/2016, Friday newsletter. So that link, the way I created that was right here. This is the URL builder. Again, you can just Google URL builder, and you'll find the page that has this form. And you can see, actually I should have had an arrow. Right at the top here is where you put the website URL. That's mainstreetroi.com. It can be wherever you're sending that traffic, whatever the landing page is, put that in there. And then you want to fill out the campaign source, which in this case is newsletter. The medium is email. The campaign name, I just put the date, and then I said Friday newsletter. You can really put whatever you want there. And the way this works, Google Analytics will then track this traffic and call it email traffic. And you'll be able to break out that email traffic by campaign name and see performance for each of your email campaigns. In the last section here, once you click Generate URL, you'll see the URL right at the bottom here. You just copy and paste that and use that instead of just MainStreetROI.com. All right, here's a quick recap. We talked about setting up your ESP. Talked about growing your list, planning your email calendar. Then you need to create your emails. You can either write them yourself or hire a ghostwriter. And then you do need to track your email performance. So then in terms of taking action, if you want expert help, we can help you. And we can take care of setting up your ESP, importing your contacts, integrating the web forms, and adding a lightbox to automatically grow your list. We'll plan your email calendar, actually draft those emails, send them for approval. Once approved, we'll send those emails, and then track everything and send reports. This is an overview of how we work with clients. If you're not familiar, we do have a team which includes marketing advisor, email marketing analyst, and then a technical specialist to set up that tracking as well as integrating the web forms. In terms of our promises, we're extremely responsive. That's one of the main reasons clients love us. 100% transparent, and we practice what we preach. That's why we love putting on these trainings, and then we actually apply what we teach in these webinars, these free webinars, as well as the live paid webinars that we put on. So if you are interested, you can go to mainstreetroi.com/email-marketing-quote. And that will send you our email marketing packages. It includes the service description and pricing. And you'll also get a 30-minute consultation with a marketing advisor. And with that, we're going to jump to Q&A. We are right on schedule here. All right, so let me jump over to the Q&A box. Excuse me. I did address a lot of these already. Terry said there's a program called Vextras, V-E-X-T-R-A-S, that transfers contact info for people who order directly to MailChimp. No double opt-in. I hope you feel better soon. Thank you, Terry. So that is true. So I said MailChimp forces the double opt-in, which is true, but there are some third-party integrations, and that's what Terry is referring to, that's Vextras, that will integrate with different other service providers. This one, it looks like it links up with an e-commerce shopping cart, and that is a workaround so that you don't need the double opt-in. But by default, MailChimp does require that. And Terry just mentioned it does work with Volusion websites and maybe others. So that's basically a MailChimp integration with Volusion. And there are other ones out there. So you'll just need to take a look at MailChimp and see if they have some kind of integration with your website, whatever platform your website's built on. And it is possible that they have a workaround for the double opt-in. And if that's the case, then I do like MailChimp, and I would recommend it. And it is free for up to 2,000 contacts, so that is a huge benefit. All right. Sam asked a good question here. Just going back to the email calendar, how many days between email number 1 and email number 2? So we sent, that was exactly a week. We actually sent those on Wednesday, and then the first email was on a Wednesday, and then the following email, so 7 days later, we sent the next email, and then the promotion ended because the live training started on Thursday. So we sent the first email 8 days before the deadline, and then we sent a reminder 1 day before the deadline. And that is just an example. I'm not saying that is absolutely what you should do. We have had good success sending 4 emails over just a 5-day period, where it's a very short window of time. It's a very short promotion. We announce it. We send another email reminding everyone that about the announcement, and then we send a heads up about the deadline that's going to be tomorrow, and then we send an email the day of to say that, hey, this is your absolute last chance. The deadline is approaching. So there's lots of different variations. It depends on your audience and how they react to that type of promotion, as well as what you're selling. E-commerce products, consumer products, you can get away with, a little bit more aggressive tactics, more emails, versus a more traditional B2B type promotion. You're probably not going to be as aggressive. All right, let's see. Kirsten, you're welcome. So Brenda, we did record this. Let me just confirm that. Yes, it is recording. And we typically get the recordings sent out the following Monday or Tuesday, but we might be able to get it sent out faster. But at the latest, I always say Tuesday. And that answers Gary's question as well. You will get a copy. And then Sam, any suggestions on purchasing email list vendors? So, excuse me. Some email list providers do allow you to purchase the lists. There's different ways to go about it. You can actually go out and do your own research, especially if you're in a B2B business. You can just use online directories a lot of times and find contact information. So that's the cheapest way to go about that. Then you can go to a list broker, and a lot of them will only allow you to rent the list, in which case you pay for them to send an email on your behalf. So you don't actually get the contacts. They just send the email. And then other vendors or list brokers will actually sell you the entire list. You obviously need to be careful about the list quality, as well as how many other businesses are hammering that list. But Sam, if you are interested, I will follow up with you in terms of recommended list brokers. If you could just type a little bit more about your business, that would help me steer you in the right direction. All right, I think that was the last question. All right, Sam, I got the industry there. So with that, I'm gonna wrap this up. For everyone that's on the line, I would appreciate you taking just 2 minutes at the end. There'll be a very quick survey It's super fast, just 5 optional questions just to get some feedback from you, and then we use that to help us with future webinars. So I would really appreciate that. Other than that, I hope you have a great weekend. Hopefully it's going to be nice weather now that we're in summer. So enjoy the weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Take care, everyone.